Hello, everyone. Today we have a familiar face. If you have been following me for a while, you would have seen our guest in some of my videos. His name is Daniel Alleyne, or Monsieur Alleyne, and he is an English, French, and Spanish instructor. I will put his social media information on the screen and in the description so that you can check out his work. At the moment, he is teaching English in Colombia, so I invited him to share his experience with us. Buenos días,
Thank you
Daniel.
for being
¿Cómo
here.
estás? How are you doing?
Muy bien, gracias y tú.
Estoy muy bien. I'm very well. I can't complain. I'm fighting the good fight like everyone.
Well,
All right.
sometimes we say here in Colombia too, todo melo y tú.
Oh, okay, okay. Interesting, interesting. All right. So why did you choose to pursue this experience in Colombia?
Uh, yes, good. Interesting question. So we started off with very interesting questions. Okay, so I primarily decided to pursue this experience in Colombia because as a linguophile, I would like to improve my Spanish as much as possible. I also have a friend from Barbados who has been living here for years now. And I also have another friend from Barbados who lived here but got married to a Mexican and moved to Mexico. In addition, I visited Colombia in 2023 before ultimately deciding to come here to work,
Okay.
specifically here in Medellín because
Medellín.
yeah. So therefore, I had time to explore the city, the culture, the food, meet people, and make friends.
Makes perfect sense. So you went to sample it before you actually made your decision.
Exactly.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So describe the application process for us.
Oh, sure. Well, there was a nonprofit organization. Well, there is. It's not like it no longer exists, but there is a nonprofit organization called Minga House Foundation, which helps facilitate volunteer roles, internship roles, and paid educator roles in Colombia. Usually, you have to go to their website to create and register your teacher profile, and where you usually have to upload a copy of your CV. Then every month, they send you a list of available jobs and as well as the information about the salary and the benefits. After deciding where you would be interested in working, you contact the names of the persons listed on the document
Okay.
who will contact the schools on your behalf. Usually, you have to submit an updated CV and a video of you introducing yourself. This is kind of a way to get the schools to know you to get an idea of your personality, right? And if the schools are interested, they will contact you for an interview.
Okay, okay. Oh, another question regarding the application process. Is a TEFL or TESOL certificate mandatory,
Um,
or it depends on the school?
it depends on the school because there's some schools they from what I have seen, from what I have seen, there's some schools that require you have a degree and a TEFL would be optional, and others would say that you need a TEFL or a degree. So
Okay,
sometimes the requirements are slightly different from school to school.
okay, okay. Noted. So with regard to the lessons, are you given a syllabus from which you need to teach, or are you given some leeway with the lessons?
Mm, um, well,
Mhm.
this one is interesting. All
Mhm.
right, I work at a, I work at an academy where things are quite different.
Okay.
Our academy has its own English books, and generally there's an app that we use called Blocks, which tells us when we have to teach, in what classroom we have to teach, what lesson we have to teach, and who we have to teach.
Okay.
However, leeway is given when we have cultural clubs where we teach students about the cultural aspects of the English speaking countries we're from, because the academy where I'm from, usually they have teachers from foreign countries. And I obviously am from Barbados. Another co-worker of mine, she's from England, and in the other branches from the other branches, other persons I would have met are from like the US
Okay.
and other places. So usually we have leeway on that. Obviously, in my case, that would be Barbados. There's also leeway for a specific English class we have called We Talk.
We
Teachers
talk.
are usually free. Yeah, We Talk.
So this sounds like a
So
conversation class.
yes, most of the classes at our school or at our academy are primarily based on conversation. So no matter what you teach, you need to get the student to talk and to communicate in the language as much as possible.
Okay.
So for We Talk, teachers are free to choose whatever topic they would like to teach, but it must
Of course,
follow.
not sensitive topics like religion or politics, right?
Oh yeah, there's a bit of restrictions with
Okay.
what would what do you call those? Controversial
Yes,
topics.
controversial, yeah.
Right. So you have to, those are topics you have to be careful. But apart from that, you're free to talk about whatever you're interested in.
Right.
And, but even though there's freedom there, you must follow the Academy's methodology, which is the PP approach: presentation, practice, and production. Presentation basically is the aspect of the lesson where students will be learning the information. Practice is obviously going to be the practice exercises. And the production aspect is the student using the knowledge that they have acquired to produce their own work.
Yeah. I actually came across that methodology in my TESOL course, right? That I
Ali.
just finished. Yep. The PPP
Yeah,
is a very simplistic way to teach grammar.
yes, it
Yeah,
is.
that's good. That's good. Also, what is the age range of your students?
Um, well, that really depends on the age range. Oh, the age range and not the level. My apologies.
Yeah, yeah.
The age range are usually we usually have like teenagers to adults.
Okay,
So no younger children. They're usually teenagers, going to be youngest, are going to be youngest students and adults.
okay. So speaking of
Mhm.
age and whatnot, how often
Mhm.
do you use Spanish in the classroom?
Okay, so this okay, so this depends on the level of the students,
Right.
right?
Naturally.
Uh, with the academy's rules, you're generally not supposed to you're generally not supposed to speak English with the students, right? So for me,
You speak
if the
Spanish?
student, yeah, you're not supposed to speak with the students in Spanish,
Right.
right? Because it's an academy that teaches English, and
Right,
you
right,
want
right,
to
right,
encourage the students to speak as much English as possible.
right.
So if the student is intermediate or advanced level, I use like 100% English,
Yeah, makes sense.
right? I use English 100% of the time. If they have difficulties understanding what is being said, I find ways to simplify the information or show them images whenever necessary for clarity. However, it's very different if the student is a beginner. If the student is a beginner, I'm going to have to use Spanish at some point, but I use Spanish at least 30% of the time to facilitate comprehension of important concepts. You see, with beginners, it's going to be impossible not to teach a class without using any kind of English at all.
Spanish, you mean?
Sorry,
Right.
my apologies.
Yeah. But
Without using any kind of Spanish at all.
yeah, I understand that because if you have someone who has no knowledge of English,
Mhm.
it is very, I don't want to say impossible, but it's going to be extremely difficult to keep the class in English. It's going to be
Yeah,
very difficult because their vocabulary is not extensive to where they could understand what you are trying to say. So
exactly.
using images would help. I
Yes.
was even thinking about synonyms and whatnot, but if again, if their vocabulary is limited, that might not always work, right? So
Yeah.
when it comes to beginners, yeah, it's going to be very tricky. That's going to be a very tricky
Yeah,
situation.
it's been tricky because sometimes
Mhm.
sometimes I try to speak more English as possible,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's just really a struggle, and then like it is impossible not to use
Mhm.
Spanish at some point because sometimes the students are
Yeah.
like,
Because right now
wow.
I have a student from Ecuador and he's a beginner. So
Mhm,
sometimes he may ask me how to say something in English. So he will say the word in Spanish. For example, he may say uh dirigir, right? To lead,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
And when I ask him to explain it, I know what he means, right? But I want him to explain it.
mhm.
He goes straight to Spanish. He doesn't even do it in English. So I just
Oh,
use that to illustrate the point that if their vocabulary is limited, then you will
yeah,
have to utilize Spanish or the first
exactly.
language a lot more frequently.
Yeah, yeah, I experienced that same thing because if you ask, for example, ask a student, for example, to define a word and they realize that they're going to struggle a lot, they immediately switch to Spanish.
Yep, I have personally found that to be true.
Yeah.
All right. So now that we are
Mhm,
talking about difficulties,
mhm.
which aspect of English do your students enjoy the most, and which aspect do your do they enjoy? Or no. Let me rephrase that. So, which aspect of English do your students enjoy the most, and
Mhm.
which aspect do they find the most difficult?
Um, yes, very interesting question. Let me think. Hmm. All right, so for this, I think students enjoy the cultural aspects of English the most because we have cultural clubs. They get the opportunity to learn about the cultures of their teachers, and the teachers of their teachers who are from obviously from foreign countries. They tend to ask a lot of questions during this time. They ask so much questions. Teacher, so what is the festival like? What do you guys usually do during the festival? It's so they ask so much questions, it's like so unreal. I think the problem that they often encounter, and I think you would have seen the video that I would have created about this, is conditioned language processing,
That's an
right?
interesting concept, though.
Yes.
Very interesting.
As you know, this is a term that I've created to describe when a person has difficulty understanding native speakers speaking at normal speed as a result of having been conditioned to processing the information in that language at a much slower pace. Because
Mhm.
as you know, when we go to school and we learn a foreign language, we tend to learn everything very slowly. And after experiencing that for about 2, 3, 4 years, your brain is going to be conditioned to processing the information at that speed that you're learning at in school. That's why, in the majority of cases, most persons don't understand what native speakers are saying, and for them, they perceive native speakers as speaking too fast. But reality is that the problem is that you've been conditioned to processing the information so slowly that you can't pick it up at normal. You can't understand it when it's spoken at normal speed. And it's not the fault of the teachers.
Mhm.
It's just that when you're learning a language, you need to expose yourself to different types of listening materials so that you can get accustomed to how people usually speak.
Yeah.
Because if you don't,
Intonation. Mhm.
yeah, because if you don't and your teacher is your only source of information, you're going to find that you're going to have difficulty understanding people when they speak at normal speed.
Yeah. The same thing can be said when it comes to persons abroad learning English because they
Yeah.
say we speak too quickly.
Yeah.
So it's true. So what you're saying makes a
Yes.
lot of sense. Okay, nice, nice. So when it comes to behavior, have you encountered any behavioral issues in the classroom?
Oh Lord, no. Oh my gosh. The Asian teachers don't come for me here. Uh, well, here I haven't encountered any behavior issues in the classroom. Most students are usually well behaved as they usually are very motivated to learn. They're very serious about learning, or in many cases, some are too shy to speak or too shy to do anything.
Interesting problem
Uh,
to have.
yeah. But I'm not sure if it's because I work in an academy as opposed to a public school,
Okay.
but students are very respectful and they love interacting with their teachers. That's evident.
Well, I love that for you. I think that's every teacher's dream to enter a classroom and have a class that is full of students that are motivated to learn.
Yes.
Yes,
Hmm.
I think that's every teacher's dream. All right. Now we're going
Hmm.
to get to the fun part. So
Hold on.
I know that you have spent some time over there, and I know that you would have learned some expressions. Of
Yeah,
course,
over a period of 8 months
we're
now.
going to keep the expressions PG, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So I would
Yes,
like to
PJ.
give me some expressions that you've learned over there.
Okay.
That's far because you're still there.
Okay, let's start with the first expression that I learned. It's also my favorite expression here so far. No dar papaja,
Oh,
right?
that papaya.
Literally, yeah, no dar papaja. Literally, don't give papas. It means don't do anything to make yourself an easy target. So, for example, if you got robbed during the night because you were on your phone texting and not paying attention to your surroundings, and you got robbed, right? And you tell your friend, hermano, me robaron el celular, right?
Mm.
And then when you explain to the person like what you were doing before you got robbed, that person is going to tell you, porque estabas dando papaya. Es por eso.
Ah. Oh, it's like you're not paying attention. You're not minding your surroundings.
It's kind of like when you do things to draw attention to
Right.
yourself.
Oh, okay. You're doing something reckless.
Right. When you're
Right.
doing things that are reckless, that kind of idea.
Okay. Yeah.
Because like if for example, if you know there are particular areas where people are going to rob you, if you have your cell phone out and you have your cell phone out, right? Right? Estás dando papaya,
Like
right?
this.
Yeah. Yes, especially like if it's some sort of luxury phone and you're doing
Right,
that,
right, right, right.
estás dando papaya. Yeah.
Mhm.
Then there is another expression that I have to keep it PG-13, but
Right, keep it PG.
it's to me it's very funny. We use it a lot here, and whenever I use it with Colombians, they like immediately start laughing. Estar mamado,
It's not.
literally to
Uh-huh.
be sucked.
He sucks.
Yeah,
Give me
but
some more
it
context.
okay, but it means to be really tired.
Oh, to be really tired. Okay.
Yeah, this expression reminds me of like when you're drinking a box juice till it's empty, and
Uh-huh.
like the box juice is devoid of life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the idea that comes to mind when I hear this expression, because like when you when you drink all the juice in the box, juice is like kind of crushed and like
Oh yes,
doesn't
yes,
look
yes.
like, yeah. So estar mamado is kind of like that, like no energy,
For
nothing.
energy. Ah, okay, okay. Hmm.
And then
I did not
another
know.
expression that I can remember. I don't echar, no, echar los perros.
Okay.
Literally to throw the
Yeah, the
dogs.
dogs, yeah, uh-huh. So what does this mean now?
But it means to flirt with someone.
Also, coquetear.
Yes,
Ah,
coquetear. But
okay.
I don't know what relation throwing dogs has to do with flirting. So
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I find this to be pretty hilarious.
It sounds funny to me too.
Yeah, it's
Echar los
insane.
perros.
Echar los perros.
I'm going to use that. Actually, no, I'm not going to use that. No, because I don't want to end up coming across as rude, right? So,
Eh,
yeah, I'm going to stick to the expressions that I know.
yeah.
All right. So, how does Colombia's cost of living compare with Barbados's?
Oh boy. Auntie Mia,
I think
leave me
virtually
alone.
anywhere in the world is cheaper than Barbados.
Okay. All right. Hopefully the pigeons don't come for me. Well, let's say in Barbados, you can, well, let's say in Barbados, you can't buy much with $100. But in Colombia, you can buy a lot of things with 100,000 pesos, which is somewhere near 50 billion dollars.
Okay.
I'm guessing because most of their food are most of the food
Locally
is
grown.
locally grown.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's locally grown as opposed to being imported,
right. Makes sense.
which makes sense, right? I usually buy an entire rotisserie chicken here with potatoes for less than 10 Bajan dollars.
All right, I'm coming over there. I'm coming there next week. I'm going there next week. I'm going there next week.
And there's milk that I usually buy to make protein shakes. And that's usually about, I think, less than 2 Bajan dollars,
Oh, wow,
just
wow.
to give you an idea. But the most expensive thing that you're going to experience here is rent.
Uh, housing, accommodation.
Yeah.
Right,
Well, if you compare it to Bajan dollars, it's not going to be that expensive.
right.
Because, for example, my rent, it's like 1 million pesos a
And that
month.
and that's how many Barbadian dollars?
More or less like around 500 Bajan dollars a month.
Ooh,
Yeah.
bad,
You
not
see,
bad at all.
when you compare it to Bajan dollars, it doesn't seem like a lot.
Right.
But if you tell a Colombian that you're paying $1 million in rent, they're
Yeah.
gonna be, what?
But you see, that's the thing. They're accustomed to that standard of living. So
Yeah.
if they were to come here, they would receive a culture shock.
Yeah.
See the amount of money that we pay to live in Barbados.
Hmm.
That's interesting information. But
Yeah.
I'm going to book my flight as soon as we finish. All right. Finally,
Um,
what advice would you give to someone who is desirous of traveling to Colombia to teach English?
mm, well, first, I would advise them to visit Colombia first to get a feel of the country and the culture to see if it's the right fit for them, because um, every person has different experience. Because for me, it's been great. For other persons, they come about within 2 weeks, they want to go back home.
Mhm.
So the experience is different for everybody, right? Uh, I would suggest research the do's and don'ts in Colombia and why the expression "no dar papaya" exists, right? Because that's very important and essential to know. And if after that they're certain that Colombia is the country for them, they can contact the Minga House Foundation to find out what opportunities are available so that they can apply and start working in Colombia.
Okay. Hmm. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for sharing this useful information. I'm sure that you've helped many people. You've also helped me. So thank you. And of course, you're going to see Danielle in more videos. We are going to be doing more collaborations together. Okay?
Yes, indeed.
Hasta luego y muchas gracias.
Nos vemos.
Nos vemos.